Good morning, Flosstube. I hope everybody has had a really great stitching week. I know I have. I have so much to show you guys. I have been doing one strand a day on Map of Haw Run Hollow, and it's coming along. I'm just working in the bird here. I'm doing the dark brown in the bird there. And the last time you saw it, it looked like this. And today, it looks like this. I'm not going to take it out of the Q-snap because I use it every day, but that's what it looks like. It's a little bit overcast here today, so I'm not sure how the light's going to work out on this, but plugging along. We're starting to get into a narrow section here on the bird, so I think it's going to move a little bit faster, and I also cut my strands longer, so instead of getting 50 stitches out of a strand, I've been getting 100, which is moving along, which is great. That's what we like. Oh, I forgot to say, I've been calling this a raw natural linen, and I was looking at it, and it's actually a 40 count Flax Newcastle linen, and I'm doing this with the called for NPI Silks 1/2 full cross, and it is at 5.85%. That is Map of Haw Run Hollow by Carriage Samplings. Oh, I told myself I wasn't going to zip the bags closed, but there I go. Next up, I worked on September Sapphire Fairy, which is a Mirabilia that I've been working on for my oldest daughter. And that's what it will look like when it's done. And this is what it looked like last time I showed it to you guys. So when I picked it up, I decided I was going to put the other wing in, and I did get the whole other wing done. And here is what she looks like now. The only silk used in this Mirabilia is right here on the edge of her wing. It's a really dark Cairn water lily. It is variegated, but I have a hard time seeing the variegation. It's called Dark Shadows, and that's what it looks like. Actually, in the camera, it almost looks like there's some purples in it, but when I stitch it, well, in real life, I don't see the purple. I barely see the purple. So I haven't been doing it just like a single stitch at a time because I can barely see the variegation. So I've just been doing the whole sections at a time. But yeah, her wings are done. I'm saving her head until last because I like to get the hard stuff out of the way first. In her collar there is some Kreinik blending filament, this red stuff, and it just called for one single strand of this very tiny blending filament, and I was like, oh, I don't know about that. That's not going to be a lot of coverage, but when I look at it, it almost has like a lacy effect, so I'm glad I trusted the process because it looks really nice. And then this is going to be the second to last thing that I do. She's holding in her hand the top of the bird cage. Not a bird cage, it's a butterfly cage. And so I'm going to do the butterfly cage second to last, and then her face very last. This is 28 count, picture this plus Jazz Lugana, and she is 35% done already. I kind of can't believe it. It doesn't seem like it, but she is 35% done. You can also see in here the area that isn't stitched. That's the outline of her hand. She's holding a butterfly in her palm. But yeah, that is September Sapphire Fairy from Mirabilia. The next project that I worked on is another Mirabilia Nora Corbett called Trick or Treat Fairy. I got this pattern off the Hirschner's website. They had it available as a digital download, and I got it, and I decided that I was going to swap out all the fancy stuff, all the fancy flosses, Kreiniks, all that kind of stuff for items that I had in my stash. So I'm not buying any new beads, Kreinik, anything like that. The only thing that I'm doing as called for is the DMC. And here's what she looked like the last time that you saw her. And here is what she looks like now. I got quite a bit of work done on her. This is 32 count dark purple Lugana, 24% done. And I finished up that little owl, and I just love his little ears. They're so cute. And she is really coming along. So far, I've swapped out 2 Kreiniks. So her tiara there on her head, it was called for Kreinik 1432, which is blue ice. So there's like a strand of silver and a strand of light blue in it. But I didn't have that, so I swapped it out for this Kreinik, which is Kreinik 093. And I don't remember exactly what it's called, but this is a very light lavender silver color, and I thought that would lavender, like a super light purplish color. It looked a lot like the blue ice, it was just purple instead of blue, and I think it looks great, and it really goes well with this purple fabric too. So, and her whole dress is shades of black and gray, which somehow make it look purple. Like this, I'm going to show you my ratty floss. This is the entire color palette of this project. The oranges are in the pumpkin down below. So like her dress is entirely these browns and grays, but they somehow come together and kind of look purple. So it's kind of interesting how that works out. And then the other floss that I have swapped out is Kreinik 031, which is called Crimson. And I swapped that out for this DMC Light Effects E815. And it is the lighter of the 2 red DMC Light Effects, but it's the only DMC Light Effects that I have. And so in her tiara, there's 5 or 6 like rubies, and I swapped it out for this. I also swapped out, her lips were a light pink DMC floss, and I used this instead. I don't know, I hope the camera picks it up because it actually looks really cool with the DMC Light Effects. But that is what I have swapped out so far. Next up, she's holding this banner that says Trick or Treat all along here, and it is calls for Kreinik dark ruby or something like that, like a really deep red Kreinik that I don't have, and this is the only like sparkly red that I do have. So I'm thinking about what I'm going to do. I have lots of sparkly blacks and silvers in varying tones, or I could just do it with this. We'll see. This is going to be one of those really tough decisions for me. I don't know why, but I'm really going to struggle with this one. But I'm going to make it happen. Oh, and there's also some of the, in her amulet around her neck there, is some of the red Kreinik. And that is where she is at. Next up is Seafarer's Globe from Maria Diaz. I saw this pattern, I saw it in an ad in a magazine that I was looking at. It wasn't even an ad for the pattern, it was like an ad for an app. And I saw the pattern in there, and then I had to hunt it down and figure out what it was. And I ended up finding the pattern on Creative Poppy. They carry a lot of Maria Diaz's patterns. But here's what it will look like when it's done. And here's what it looked like the last time you saw it. And when I picked it up this time, there is a section along the bottom that wouldn't go into Pattern Keeper. So I've decided to try and get that section done, the section that won't go into Pattern Keeper. So all along here wouldn't go into Pattern Keeper because there's like a watermark on the pattern over here that Pattern Keeper was like, nope, not happening, not doing it. So all of this stuff up here is in Pattern Keeper, and that's what I have been doing. But I decided that I was going to try and get that section done that's not in Pattern Keeper. That way everything that I have left will be in Pattern Keeper. And so far so good. There's about 2.5 pages. So this was 1 page of it. Then there's 1 more page, and then there's a half a page right here. And I went ahead and did the back stitching on that. And I married it up to this lady mermaid here. And I think that she looks amazing. I am doing this on 25 count potato Lugana, and I had ordered an entire set of CXC threads for this, and this is I think the only project I'm going to do that on, because I like it, but I have pretty much a whole set of DMC. I don't end up having to buy DMC very often, and I really actually like the effect of it on here because it's a little bit fluffier and it really fills it out on this 25 count. But in order to not tempt myself, I gave the entire set to my daughter, and I said, here, make your friendship bracelets, do whatever you want with this, knit with it, make a mess with it, whatever. Just don't let it be in my stash so I'm not tempted to experiment with it again. Even though it does look really, really nice. I am also, this called for a gold Kreinik, and I swapped it out for this little tube of gold metallic that I found. My mom gave me all of her DMC threads, and inside one of the thread boxes was this little tube of mysterious Kreinik type material, although it's very thin. So it's probably not Kreinik. I used 2 strands of it. It is backstitched. Where is it? It's around the outside of the globe. It's in his trident, in this guy's trident up here. And it's also in her bikini top here, or in her mermaid top, whatever you want to call it. So it's used in a couple of places. And I really enjoy working on this piece. I'm excited to get it done. Right now, I think it's at around 50%. It's at 45% in Pattern Keeper, but I've done this, oh no, it's at 50% in Pattern Keeper, but I was saying that there was less of it because I still had this whole section to do. So now with this done, I'm just going to call it 50% for now. That's about where I think it is. So that is Seafarer's Globe from Maria Diaz. Next up is my chatelaine that I've been working on, Winter Fairy. Here's what it will look like when it's done. And here's what it looked like the last time you saw it. I have decided to cut it off short. Instead of doing the whole banner, I'm cutting it off right under the fairy, and I'm going to finish it off like that. And I'm actually really close to being done with it. The reason I decided to do that is because there's a lot of white specialty threads in this that just are not showing up on the fabric in any kind of way that is really visible. So that's where it's at now. I finished up this border all the way around the edge, which is a really gorgeous variegated Gloriana silk. There's teals and purples in it, and it's really, really variegated, so in every 5 or 6 stitches you're switching to a new color, and I really like it. And like this banner right here is a good example of not being able to see the white specialty stitches. There's 2 like super intricate snowflakes at the bottom of there, and they're invisible. Can't even see them. And like down here too, there's whisper thread. There's maybe 50 stitches of whisper thread and you can't even see them. So that is why I am finishing this one up. All that I have left to do is put the 2 banners in here, and then there's several more of these snowflakes all around her, but a lot of them are in white. So I may not put them in, or I might do them in a different color. And then I get to come back in and bead, which is super exciting. I ordered the embellishment kit from European Cross Stitch. So I got everything for this kit, which kind of sucks because since I'm not doing the whole thing, I'm going to have all these extras. But it is what it is. Right here is a Swarovski, I think it's a bicone or a teardrop, so I'm excited to put that in. As well as all the other beads. It's just going to be gorgeous. And then when I finish this up, I'm going to start one of the other fairies. I'm not sure which one yet. One of the other fairy banners, because there's spring, summer, and autumn left to do. I bought the 4-pack. I bought all of them. So I'm going to start, I don't know, right now I'm feeling fall. I'm feeling really Halloween. So I might start the autumn one. But that is my chatelaine, which is almost done. It feels kind of unfair to say that I'm almost done a chatelaine because it just feels unfair. I'm sure you know why. Chatelaines should take forever, and here I am cutting that off short. But let me actually pull out. I have all the cards here. I'm going to show all these specialty threads that just are not showing up. I probably should have done it on a light blue. Like, that would have been the way to go. But so here are the specialty threads that aren't showing up. This is the whisper thread, and then both of these are kind of a like a rainbowy sort of white. One of them is a little bit more silver, but they're visible on that white fabric. So next up is a project that I worked on the 25th. I decided the 25th of every month I'm going to work on this dimensions kit, which is a treasure time. And so that's what I did. Here's what it looked like the last time you saw it. And I put 1,000 stitches into this, and it's practically invisible. I am doing this with the kit floss and on the kit Aida, which is a 16 count dove braid Aida, I believe is what they call it. And that is where I got to. I worked in the bottom down in the pond there, as well as on the people. I actually, right here, there's some people faces that I put in. They're just disembodied faces down there, but that's how far I got. And this is a lot of fun. I actually was really looking forward to working on this. To say that I put 1,000 stitches in would be kind of cheating, because most of this is just half stitch. It's called for half stitch. I think 85% of the stitches in this project are half stitches. Everything in the background, all the trees and stuff, all the water, snow, it's all half stitch. The only really full stitch so far has been in the people and in their faces. Like even the guy in the green shirt here by the bridge, his pants are half stitch even. And then on the guy here with the red scarf, I started doing full stitch in his shirt there, not realizing that it was supposed to be half stitch, but I might just leave it. I mean, I probably shouldn't, but I might just leave it as full stitch. And that is where it's at. It is at 10%. I have this in Pattern Keeper. I just put it in myself by taking a picture of it. I have heard people saying though that if you email Dimensions and you can like prove that you own it, that they will send you like a proper PDF that goes into Pattern Keeper really nicely. And I've thought about doing that, but then I would have to like remark everything that I've stitched, and I don't think I want to do that. But the next time I buy a Dimensions kit, 100% for sure, I'm going to make sure I'm going to email them and get the pattern, because that will just make my life so much easier. Next is my new start, which is this Bella Filipina Hummingbird Pixie. I've had this kitted up for almost a year. I have a lot of, but not all of the charms and beads and specialty flosses. I don't know exactly where they go, but there's a lot of different charms in here. And when I ordered the stuff from 123 Stitch, they were out of a lot of the charms. So I don't have all the charms for this, but I have quite a bit of the specialty stuff. And that is why I decided to start it. I had an empty spot on my WIP spreadsheet. I'm trying to stay right at 24 active WIPs this year. And so this brought me back up to 24. And that's as far as I've gotten. This is just a piece of her skirt. There's about 1,000 stitches here, so her skirt is no joke. She is going to be a big fairy. I had this piece in stash. This is, I didn't write it down. It's a light blue Lugana 32 count. That might actually be what it's called. Yeah, it is. It's 32 count light blue Lugana from Zweigert, probably. And yep, that's where it's at. There's just several purples and blues there in her skirt. And she brought me back up to 24 WIPs. And I am happy for that. I actually, last night, after I put this in, I was like, if this is her skirt, because there's still more skirt to go, and then her face and stuff, and so I had to measure. I knew my margins were going to be tight on this, but I will have 1.5 inches on the edge here. So everything that's going on up here, I'm still going to have 1.5 inches of margin, so that's good. That's good. We always like when things fit. So now that I have explained that I'm back up to 24, I am going back down to 23. And not by finishing something, I am actually going to be UFOing a project. So a couple weeks ago, I started Renaissance Mermaid for Mirabilia. This girl right here. And I just love that. When I saw this, I thought to myself, this looks like kind of like the Birth of Venus. And then when I got it and I read the little blurb on the back, that was actually the inspiration for this one, was the Birth of Venus. So I just think she's gorgeous. But when I started her, I made the mistake of starting her the wrong way on my Lugana. So I started her this way instead of this way. And when I pick this all out and I put it this way, where I stitched incorrectly is going to be in the blank spaces of the water. And I think it's going to be totally visible that I picked out, It's just not gonna, it's not gonna look nice. It's not gonna look like nice vacant empty space. It's gonna look like an area where a bunch of stitching has been picked out. If it was going to be covered up by something, then I probably would just pick it out and keep going, start over again and do it the right way. But I'm going to have to pick out a different fabric. This is totally savable. This will work for something else. This is a fat quarter, so I could even split it into, you know, 2 fat eighths. Yeah, 2 fat eighths and do something else with it, but it's just not going to be, it's not going to be this project. So I've decided, instead of keeping this on as like an active WIP, I'm just going to put this pattern back in my pattern stash, and I'm going back down to 23 WIPs. This is for now a UFO as it stands, and I will get to start something else new, which is going to be Jolly July. That's what we're talking about, yes. So for next month, for Jolly July, since Christmas falls on a Wednesday this year and Christmas Eve is on Tuesday, I've decided that on Tuesdays and Wednesdays in July, I am going to work on a Christmas project. So I have this, a Treasure Time Dimensions kit that I can work on. I have a piece called Winter Delivery from Madame Chantilly. I'll put a picture of that in here. And that's the only 2 Christmas pieces that I have right now. So since I only have 23 WIPs, I'm going to start one of these. I haven't decided for sure which one. I have, this one is called The Barber Shop, and this one is called Village Physician. So for the last 2 years, I've stitched one of these for Christmas, and I have the Village Schoolhouse and the Village Inn. I'm just gonna insert this clip here of the 2 finishes that I have. This one is from 2022 and this one is from 2023. This one is the Village Schoolhouse and this one is the Village Inn. One difference that I'm going to be doing this year is I will not be doing these on Aida. This is a 16 count ivory Aida, and I will be doing it, actually it's antique white, and I will be doing it on something darker so that all these little snowflakes are much more visible. I might do them maybe on a medium brown or a navy this year. Maybe it can be nighttime with all those snowflakes. I'm not entirely sure yet. This one I haven't mounted yet, but I have this piece of wood, so I will be able to do that here shortly. But anyways, just thought I'd stick this in here. Okay, back to the main video. So next month I will start one of these. I am seriously split 50-50. I have no idea which one I'm actually going to do. But yeah, so I should get a lot of progress next month on my Christmas projects, which is going to be fun. And then when November rolls around, I'll be in good shape to finish up the button and bead, and my dimensions kit will have a lot more progress on it, which will be nice. And then the last thing that I have going on is, so my youngest daughter is in 4-H, and we were going over her online fair entries, and she was like, "Mom, why don't you put something into the fair?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know about that." But she convinced me, and there was a category in my fair. Like, I've heard other people talk about it, and there's all different kinds of categories, like smalls, framed objects, stuff like that. In my fair, there's just a cross-stitch item. I think is literally what the category is called. It's just a cross-stitch item. So I picked this one. This is the one that I'm going to put in the fair. I stitched this last year. It is a Susan Bates pattern, and I got it out of Cross Stitcher magazine. I think it was March of 2023, and it's called Spring to Life. It's described as a Scandinavian inspired spring sampler. And so this is what I've decided to submit to the fair. And my fair is at the end of July, so we'll see. I've never put something in the fair before, but can I do this? Yes, I can. Oh, now it's not square. Well, it is what it is. Anyways, so that's what I have going on. Thank you so much for watching. Happy stitching!